NARST.
All right, thanks. So, hi everyone, I'm Gavin Fulmer. I'm the co-chair for the NARST International Committee right now, and it's my pleasure to be welcoming one of my committee members here, Tasneem Anwar, who's going to lead this session, the next in our virtual series. And Tasneem, I will let you take over and introduce everyone and start this conversation. Thanks.
Thank you so much. We will begin today's conversation with Dr. Muhammad Al Naqvi. He's an adjunct faculty and academic coordinator of professional educator diploma STEAM track at the American University in Cairo. So his talk is based on contextualization of educational experiences and educational transfer, STEM education as a model. So with this, I would like to welcome Dr. Muhammad. So the floor is open to you. So over to you, Muhammad.
Okay, thank you so much, Tasneem. Thank you so much, everybody. I will share my screen can you help me share the screen?
Yeah, you can, I guess.
Okay.
Let's see.
Now I can, yes. So my talk today is about how STEM education as a model of educational transfer has been contextualized in Egypt. And the reason for choosing this topic is we have it's many reasons. We have many reasons actually to talk about this topic, because one of the things that STEM education has proliferated the world. It's been expanding and being transmitted to everywhere in the world. And we usually hear about STEM in Egypt, STEM in the US, STEM in Europe, STEM in Pakistan, STEM in Malaysia, STEM in South Africa, STEM everywhere. But the question will always be what that STEM is. Is it the same thing? Is it a uniform a mold that everybody in the world applies? So that's why I will try to dig deeper in the Egyptian experience regarding the transfer of STEM experience to Egypt from the US. In this short talk, I will not take much time. So I'm going to cover these 4 points. We'll discuss together what is educational transfer in principle in research, and how the STEM experience was transferred to Egypt, and how it was contextualized or not. Is it the same as the US or not? This will be the main focus of the talk, and we finally have your questions. In educational research, educational transfer refers to the movement of ideas, the movement of concepts and practices in education from one society, from one country to another, and from when we usually say one place to another, it means from one country, one culture to another, and actually looking at how this happens during that process of what we call borrowing and lending. So when we say borrowing, borrowing and lending, it means that it's two ways communication, and we'll try to find out if it's really two ways communication, if the borrower and the lender are communicating, or is the borrower is just a receiver of the experience, or is there any work that the receiver or a recipient of that experience should make in order to change that experience or help other cultures, other people, other countries, even the country that the experience came from, look at how this experience has been modified and may learn from it. There are two big umbrellas for transfer. In research, it's usually referred to as soft transfer or hard transfer. And we had that very common belief of the hard transfer that was common during the colonial ages, where colonialists would try to make the people they colonize apply their educational system. And we see most of the modern education system in the third world is actually like a copy of that system in Europe, which is, we call it very explicit lending. It's very explicit, and it's declared that we're going to do and apply this kind of system in this country. There is another way of transfer which is subtle, and it's not that open, and it's not that explicit. And sometimes the countries who are borrowing the systems are aspiring to borrow the systems. So they go to the people who had that experience. They ask them to borrow what they have from their knowledge and then from their educational systems, so that they can put in action in their countries. So we'll have this in mind while we discuss the model of the Egyptian experience in STEM education. And I'd like you to put this question in mind: if you consider STEM education that's happening in Egypt as a soft transfer or a hard transfer. In my mind, hard transfer may not be actually related to colonial systems. It can be related to the need to change. There is a hard need for the country to change. Um, so now let's look at how Egypt and the U.S. Have participated in transferring STEM. Um, STEM approach is something in research we have a good idea about what it is like. We'll come to this in a minute, but we have two completely different contexts in terms of education systems from between Egypt and the US. Um, there are differences at the macro level and differences at the micro level. When we look at the macro level, look at the system across the nation, we look at the policies and the structure of the education system. So in Egypt, it's completely centralized system. Everything is controlled in Cairo by the Ministry of Education. While this is not the case at all in the U.S., we have decentralized system. People in each state have kind of freedom, or they have a kind of liberty to change things, to add, remove, to adopt a kind of curriculum. Even at the district level, there is some kind of freedom. Um, in Egypt, we have a lot of different systems in the education itself. We have the public education system, we have the private education system, the international education system, religious education system. We have different levels of systems, which is not mostly the case in the US. Sometimes there are some of these, but not as common as Egypt. Um, um, the need for STEM education in the US came from a completely different perspective than the one that adopted by Egypt. In the US, actually, STEM education came into existence as a response to different needs, like the problem of students in their achievement in science and mathematics, the competitiveness of the American students with the students of the around the world, um, the labor market, and the call for more STEM graduates. In Egypt, on paper, this is not the case. In Egypt, we have a lot of students in the STEM colleges, engineering and science. And the reason behind that is that the students do not go to these colleges because they like them or they aspire to be scientists and engineers. Actually, they go there because they get like high grades in the high school system. And that's one of the things that when we usually say we have like decline in the number of students in engineering and science colleges at higher education level, we do not mean the numbers. Actually, we actually mean the quality, because those people, when they graduate from their higher education institutions, mostly they don't work as scientists or engineers. The other thing which is gives us like a good comparison between the two systems is the gender gap in STEM. In the US, when we look at when I was in Minnesota and looked at the enrollment of girls in schools of engineering, found it like very low compared to their enrollment in the other colleges. This is not the case again in Egypt. When you go to any school of engineering, you find the number of girls in the school of engineering more than the number of males in that school. And the reason is, again, is not that the girls like engineering. They go there because they got higher grades in their final exams. At the micro level, we have problem with teachers' preparation. Our schools of education, our institutions that prepare teachers are not as ready as the US. In the curriculum, we have one centralized curriculum and everybody should follow. It's not aligned, like for instance, like the NGSS, they're not that aligned. And we have very traditional assessment system. So here, if we look at these two contexts, they look completely different, but actually we need to apply that approach. We need to apply STEM education that was successful in the US for the reasons we have just mentioned. And the STEM approach, in order to be like fully understood and applied, we need to have some of these things, if not all of them, of course. We need to have very intensive STEM curriculum. We need to have very strong STEM curriculum, like in science and mathematics, technology, and so on. We need to have different types of assessment, not just the traditional assessment. We need to emphasize the 21st century skills. Students work on project-based learning, which is not the case at all in the traditional system. The whole system is student-centered. Again, it's completely different from the system in the traditional schools. And the most important element here is how to integrate the curriculum from different subjects together to create a convincing STEM approach. In order to make this in Egypt, and how to realize this dream of having those elements in action, the Ministry of Education, with the help of the USAID, created a consortium to apply these principles in an Egyptian context. And as you see, the Egyptian context is not ready to have these elements in and to be applied in a successful mode. That's why uh, uh, teachers, experts, and all the people who are going to be working in that system visited some schools in the US, namely this school, MC Square STEM High School, and I'll tell you why I chose this school in particular, because the effect of that school was the major effect on the Egyptian STEM experience. One of the
Mohammed,
things, yes,
I just want to intervene. So I would like you to wrap it up in another minute.
in 1 minute,
Yeah.
2 minutes,
Okay, 2 minutes.
okay. When because of that system, because of that traditional system, the STEM experience changed into magnet schools. So we started to create another system of education. We call it STEM schools, or what we call in Egypt, the school for the top students and talented students in science and technology. So the STEM schools changed from an attempt to reform the current Egyptian system into a new system, and it's very similar to the magnet school in the US. We have it's completely STEM schools, no humanities, no economics, no psychology in the schools, and it's selective in nature because we don't have that resource to create a lot of them. So they select the good students to be there, and then they applied a peculiar assessment to these schools that's different from the main educational system. And they are boarding schools, and even the schools, when they are expanding, they start to look very similar to each other, which is another issue we may discuss later regarding educational transfer. Now, some of the questions that, or some of the lessons that came to our mind, the debate between selective and inclusive schools, is it okay to work on just these schools and selective schools and just pick some of the top series to these schools, or do we need to move and work more with including as many students as we can? The other lesson is that the centrality of the context, we need to take care of what's really happening in each context before we start to apply a new educational system. And the other question is, if the Egyptian experience in STEM schools is different, is good, is successful, is nice, can it be actually a source of inspiration to the US? How can we make that kind of educational transfer two ways, not just one way? And finally, I have a question for you. Of course, this is the time for questions, and so it's not written who is going to ask, so I'll ask you. Uh, if
Yeah.
you describe the transfer here in the Egyptian experience, in after this very brief description, how can you describe it? Is it a soft transfer or a hard transfer?
So, would anybody like to respond? So
If
we
there is no
have,
response, I can have any question. If you have any questions, I can answer any question.
so maybe Mohammed, would you like to comment on the same question? So what do you think, in your opinion, do you think it is hard transfer?
I actually look at it at the surface level as a very soft transfer because there is no coercion in it, there is no subjugation. It's made like because the Ministry of Education wanted at some time when like 2011 they wanted to change to do some kind of reform at the policy and educational level. But if we look a little bit deeper, uh, this couldn't have happened without the assistance of the SAID, because they supported the schools with uh, educational consultants, with equipment, sometimes with some kind of trainings and professional development for the teachers. So looking at it as a soft transfer, it's okay from the surface level, but when we go deeper, we may find out it's not that soft, if we call it, if we can say that.
Okay. Yeah. Thank you so much for elaborating. And if there is any question from uh, like 5 of us, 4 of us.
Oh yes, I'm ready for any question. Okay, thank you. We have
So maybe
Dr.
we can
Anwar
add,
here.
yeah. So maybe at the end we can open it up again, so we can like collectively see how different contexts are using STEM either differently or maybe in a similar fashion. Let's see. Yeah, thank you so much, Mohammed. So with this, I would like to now invite our next speaker, Dr. Muhammad Abdul Hadi Binyamin, Senior Lecturer, Physics Education and STEM Education. He's also a research executive at the Vice Chancellor's Office, University of Technology, Malaysia. And he's also at the moment the program coordinator for physics education, master's and PhD programs at the School of Education, UTM. And another role that Dr. Hadi is playing is instructor for STEM education course, pre-service teacher at the School of Education, UTM. The title of Dr. Hadi's talk is Bringing in Integrated STEM in Teacher Education, Considerations on International, National, Local, and Institutional Context for Quality Academic Program. So over to you, Dr. Hadi.
Okay. Can you see my slides?
Yes.
Okay. Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh, and good afternoon. Okay, or maybe a good morning for those in the United States, around the world. Okay. So I'm here is around 10:30 p.m. almost. Okay, it's okay. Still not a time for me to go sleep. Okay, so I really hope that the next time we have this kind of time, because if NARST do that for, like 2 or 3 p.m. in US time, so it will be in the, early morning in my time.
Yeah.
Okay, so thank you very much for a good time for me to have some preparations and good time also for delivery. Okay, so my sharing is more on less, it is not to say that less academic, because most of the things that I would share is something like how I translate my understanding, my experience, okay, my knowledge that I gained, especially when I was in US. When I was come back from US in 2017, I went back to my home in January 2017, okay, and I started teaching as a full-time lecturer in August 2017 after completed my PhD. There are a lot of things that I should say that I learned too much, too many, okay, from what I have learned from US. So I really appreciate the experiences that I got from US, especially in University of Minnesota. I will tell you how it really shaped the way I think about STEM education. Okay, so that I acknowledge that there are so many things that can shape the education. That's why I explicitly mentioned about the international, national, local, and also institutional context. Okay, because there's 4 contexts, something that I think critical, especially for me in order to invent or create a special course for STEM education for the pre-service STEM teachers. Okay. So this is what I think the important thing is about introducing integrated STEM education for pre-service teachers, okay? Because traditionally, they were not trained to use integrated STEM, okay? They were trained to use like the traditional one, okay, in silos subjects, okay? How to teach physics, how to teach maths, how to teach chemistry, okay? But there is no room for what we call it, the integration across the subjects. So that for me, might be the best way for me to introduce the integrated STEM in pre-service teachers education programs. Okay, it could be something that might be the first in my country, where I was investigating other courses available in other universities. They were not available yet, so it could be something that I might be the one who initiate the ideas of bringing STEM education as a course in pre-service teachers education. Okay, so the curricular reforms actually started in 2017, just before I completed my PhD in University of Minnesota. Okay, so School of Education of my university, they started to reform the curricula, the teacher education curricula, to fit with the current and also the future needs of the pre-service teachers. Okay, and the good thing is that during that time, okay, my college appointed me as the coordinator for the program. So somehow it is something that I think a benefit for me as a coordinator of the program, okay, to introduce something because I have the power. I have the power to do so. So when I was giving that power, I think it could be something that I should use that power, okay, in order for me to introduce something that might not be something that very familiar with Malaysian society. Okay, so it is not something that I going for top-down approaches. Okay, actually, it is something because I learned a lot from what I have learned in the United States. So that for myself, as the instructor for this course, okay, I am the instructor for the STEM education course for the pre-service teachers. Okay, introducing integrated STEM for them is something that I think would be the best way to deliver STEM education and to make them understand about the ideas and practice of integrated STEM. Okay, instead of just embedding in every courses in teachers education program. Okay, so I think if we have a special course for integrated STEM, it could be something that better than just injecting the elements of integrated STEM in each courses. However, I know that in universities, okay, we have the academic freedom to choose or not to choose others' ideas. So that I'm not forcing my colleagues to adopt or to adapt integrated STEM in their courses. Okay, they can freely use that approach if they want. Okay, but I cannot force them. Okay, but for myself, because I was the inventor or the creator of integrated STEM for pre-service teachers. So I really use integrated STEM as the content and also for the way how I deliver the course for the students. Okay. So this is 4 classifications that I made for international, national, local, and also the institutional. Okay. So for the international, okay, I should really acknowledge that I learned a lot, okay, during my PhD in the University of Minnesota, where I still remember what I have learned almost 9 years ago. Okay, 9 years ago means in spring 2013, when I was taking the course of the nature of inquiry of STEM. Okay, with if I think most of you know, okay, the great scholars, okay, Dr. Gillian Rory, okay, Dr. Selchen Guzi, okay, Dr. Tamara Mo, okay, all of them are all the great scholars in STEM education. So I feel really grateful because I directly learn from the leading researchers. Okay, if I make the reading, okay, I almost and always see their names. Okay, so it is something that really inspired me. Okay, why not if I went back to my home so that I have a special section or special course for STEM education, because I had gone through that kind of experience when I was in US. Okay, it is about the international knowledge transfer, okay, from US to home, okay, where I directly I see myself as the agent who bring the knowledge from US to Malaysia. Even though I think some people say that, oh, you can simply read the articles or the books, but I think it is not the best way to say how the knowledge transfer happen. Okay, because I see myself as the agent of, you know, transferring those knowledge to my people. Okay, so that's why, okay, I know that, yes, of course, if we read the international literature, we certainly can find the names of Gillian Rory, Tamara Mo, Sidika Tesingguzi, okay? And I know that because of that, I can learn the names of those leading scholars in integrated STEM, beside those people that I mentioned, okay? So for the international, it is something that is really the matters of what I have learned when I was doing my PhD in the United States. Okay. So that we go for the national level. Okay, at the national level, okay, something that made me really surprised is that when the Ministry of Education introduced the new curriculum in 2018, they 100% adopted the ideas of science and engineering practices in NGSS. So it's really a complete alignment between Malaysian and US in terms of using the same framework of science and engineering practices. Okay, a little bit surprised for me because there is no even little modification of that, each of the word used. Okay, so it's really a total alignment between national and international level, where the ministry directly use NGSS framework, okay, the science and engineering practices, and on how to, you know, how to initiate the ideas of STEM integration in science curricula. Okay, and we know that because the system in Malaysia is a highly centralized education system, means anything that decided by the Ministry of Education, the school will certainly need to follow what this minister mentioned about or decides about the education. So it includes the STEM education, means every school, every teachers, every students need to use the same curriculum for each of them. Okay, and when we go for the local level, okay, many of the schools, okay, especially those nearer to my university, they are asked to do STEM programs. Okay, so because the Department of Education asked them to do programs of STEM for the school students. So the best way for them to get the immediate expertise is to collaborate with the university's lecturers or the academics. That's, I think, the best way on how they can benefit the existence of academics or the universities around the schools. Okay, and yes, I have several schools nearer to my university. Okay, but the one that really get interested is the one who have an official collaboration with me in terms of bringing the ideas of STEM projects. Okay, so that's how I think that for the local level, it is about the opportunity, okay, that available when some schools want to do some STEM programs. Okay, and for institutional, okay, it is about the vision of the university, means my university, which is an engineering and technology university. So it's really a very nice alignment between STEM and also my university, because it is engineering and technology basis university. So there is no contradiction about the direction. So whenever I introduce something that very new, okay, it is something that immediately have a good alignment with the vision and mission of the university. Okay, and besides, as I mentioned to you, okay, in 2017, I was appointed as the program coordinator. So that I used that power in order for me to introduce the new course, which is the integrated STEM education for pre-service science teachers especially. Okay, so this is how I integrate all these contexts in order for me to create the new course, okay, the new course which is the integrated STEM. Okay, so when I have the experience in United States as a PhD student, and I also made readings in the literature, okay, especially the international literature, I found that yes, we should teach our pre-service teachers with engineering design, scientific inquiry, and also mathematical modeling as the core approaches of STEM in the STEM education courses. Okay, this is something that I directly learned from those teachers. Okay, my teachers, Dr. Jillian Rory, Dr. Tamara Mo, Dr. Sedika Sechinguzi. Okay, all of them really taught me how to make a STEM module. Okay, I still remember how I did it. Okay, it's really teach me how to, how to teach, okay, the students about STEM integration. So it's really, a very exciting experience for me when I was in US, where I can directly learn from those scholars. Okay, so that when I was teaching in this semester for this course, okay, I already teach my students about these three: engineering design, scientific inquiry, and also mathematical modeling. Okay, but because they are mathematics pre-service teachers, I have emphasized mainly on mathematical modeling. Okay, so even though we have the three core components or core three approaches of STEM, okay, we may need to have a greater focus according to the needs of the students. Means the pre-service teachers. If they are maths teachers or the science teachers, it depends on how we should, give more emphasis on certain approaches. Okay, if they are engineering students, it could be that we might have a greater focus on engineering design. Okay, it's something that we try to get fit between the students and also the syllabus that we covered in the, in the course, right? So for the national one, the national level, how I integrate is that I use the science and maths content in the national curriculum as the content for the STEM course, okay, which is a total alignment between my universities and also the national level curriculum. So there is no, it is something that not really challenging for me to do that, because it is about the culture that really, highlight and emphasize the needs for complying the national level curriculum. Okay, and for the local one, okay, the schools especially nearer to my university, I will make community service to a school, okay, as the course assignment, where the teachers, the pre-service teachers, will teach at schools in groups. It's like, team teaching, okay, for the school level, because the school really interested to know about integrated STEM. And I will go for the mathematical modeling, because the pre-service teachers are maths teachers, so they will implement it in early January, in January 2023, where the school will invite us to come to that school and teach the lower secondary students about mathematical modeling. So I think that's something that made me really, exciting about the experience, especially because this is the first group, the first cohort of students or the pre-service teachers that go through this integrated STEM education course. Okay, they are the first batch, the first group of students. Okay, and for the institutional, okay, as I mentioned, there is no problem, because when I introduce engineering and technology based course, okay, especially for the education, it's a total alignment with the vision and mission of the university. So there is no argument. Okay, there is no clear hurdles on the moment when I introduce this new course. Okay, I got no objection from any people. Okay, they like the way I think about introducing STEM education as a course, okay, for the pre-service teachers, because there is no course like that. Okay, so the way that I did it is that I offered the course as an elective, not as the core. Okay, elective means the pre-service teachers may be able to enroll or not to enroll the course. It depends on how they think something that make them interesting, you know, to know about something about STEM. Okay, because that's the way on how I introduce something that very new to the pre-service teachers, but I did not make it compulsory for them to take it. Okay, so somehow it could be the middle way. Okay, you want to reform the curricula, yes, but also you need to consider if someone you know, have some disagreement with you, if you want to make it a core subject or core course for the pre-service teachers. Okay, right. So my reflection, okay, for this time is that this is something that I should acknowledge. Okay, many of academics, I mean my colleagues in my place, okay, they did not really know about the key components of integrated STEM. That I should mention explicitly about it. Okay, and I feel very grateful because I directly learned, okay, about integrated STEM when I was in US, and most of my colleagues, okay, most of them get the training or get their PhD from the local universities. It means the exposure to the, you know, to the global scenario is different from me. Okay, so that's why I reflect myself is something that, okay, I know that many of them were not exposed totally for integrated STEM. Okay, simply because they might not have that kind of exposure when they are doing their PhD. Okay, so that's something that I should acknowledge. Okay, that's why when I talk to them, okay, they somehow get some, you know, immediate interest to know more about integrated STEM. Okay, because usually they just mention technology integration as one or the main component of integrated STEM. But for me, we have others. We have the engineering design, okay, we have the mathematical modeling, we have the scientific inquiry. So it is not just about the technology integration that usually we make for many of, you know, pre-service teachers. Okay, so in the future, okay, I think I need to train my colleagues. Okay, I need to train my colleagues. Especially, I should acknowledge that many of the knowledge and experience that I gained about integrated STEM was actually from US. I should acknowledge it because it have, you know, it can create this sense that how I get that knowledge. Okay, because many of them did not have that kind of knowledge. So I must be really honest. Okay, I should say I learned from US when I was there. Okay, and this is where I try to expand, okay, integrated STEM for my universities, okay, for my schools, for my faculty. Okay, so that I think it could be something that very good opportunity for me, okay, because it could be something that could be an advantage, or, you know, something like the niche area, means something that can be the strength of myself as academics, where I just want to mention that the possibility to become the champion, of STEM education at my place. Okay, because there is nothing, okay, no people who can you know, have a very well understanding, well practice, okay, well knowledge about integrated STEM at my place at least. So it is an opportunity for me to train them, okay, to train the teachers, to train the academics, okay, and to, you know, to have some possible future plans. This is something that I would like to do in the future, okay, where in the future I think I will go for making this course of integrated STEM as elective at the college and finally at the university level. So my university is Engineering and Technology University. So it is very possible that university will become really optimistic, really positivistic about this STEM education course at the university level. Okay, because it's a very total alignment with the vision and the mission of the university. Just a matter of maybe those engineering students who want to become a teacher one day, if they take that particular course, it could be something that gives them the credentials to teach. Something that even though they are purely engineering students, okay, or purely science students, okay, or other courses, okay, when they, if they take that course, it means that they might be able to become a teacher one day. Okay, with, yes, of course, for additional credentials required by the government. Okay, but it could be something that if we offered okay, if I offered the course at the university level, it opens the way we can expand integrated STEM at, you know, the bigger or the higher level. Okay, so that if I want to go with that direction, means I need to train more academics to understand integrated STEM, because I cannot teach alone for 1,000 students. So that's the reality. If one day I go for, you know, university level, means I need maybe up to 20 or even 30 instructors who can deliver integrated STEM course. So it's open opportunity for me to, you know, to train them, okay, to understand, to practice integrated STEM in those courses, okay. And because now I only have the first group of students who take this course, okay, so I will revise the STEM education course, okay, the syllabus, the assessment according to the feedback given by the previous teachers, okay. It could be something that I can do in end of February, something like that, because at that time the semester ends, so that I can have some, you know, to get some feedback from those students, the previous teachers who just ended the course for this semester, okay. And in the future, I hope that I can make this course something that highly engaging and relevant for all pre-service teachers, especially these STEM teachers, okay. I know and I should acknowledge that as the first time that I teach this course for this semester, okay, I should acknowledge I have something that, you know, for the first time, it is like you are learning, okay, you are learning and you admitting or you acknowledging some of the weaknesses that might happen, okay, along the way for the implementation of the course, okay. I'm okay with it. I'm very optimistic that yes, I can improve, okay, my teaching and also the assessment of the course according to what the students mentioned about the course, okay. So this is my future plan, okay. I hope one day I can introduce this course at the university level, so that I need more people, more instructors to teach the course, okay. Simply because I cannot teach 1,000 students, okay. That's of course, okay. And to revise the curriculum according to the feedback given by the students, okay. And also to make this course as highly engaging and relevant course for the STEM teachers, okay. And I would like to acknowledge, I still remember all this, you know, very, very good person, okay. Dr. Fred Friendly, okay, he's already retired, a retired professor. Okay, Dr. Bhaskar Upadhyay, Dr. Jiren Rory, Dr. Guzi, Dr. Moore, okay. I know some of them already moved to other universities, to Purdue, okay, especially Selchen Guzi and also Tamara Moore, okay, they are now in Purdue, okay, but I still remember what they teach me when I was in University of Minnesota. So that, thank you very much for your attention and your interest about this topic. And I should say that, yes, this could be something that made me get excited and interested to know about expanding the STEM education at the university level. Okay, probably if one day, I don't know, if I have the opportunity to go for the ministries level administrators, maybe I'm not sure. It depends on the political situation. Sometimes it's really about the political appointment, so it depends if I got that opportunity. Okay, but certainly I will go for it. Okay, if I know it could be something that beneficial for the country. Okay.
Yeah.
Thank you very much. Okay, Tasneem. Okay, and all of you. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Dr. Hadi. I just wanted to make a request that if we can have the questions at the end, so I can just quickly provide my insight.
You give Hadi like 10 minutes more than the time.
Yeah.
Tasneem,
No,
okay,
I wanted to
Tasneem.
intervene.
I
I'm so
will
sorry.
settle this account with you later.
I'm so
Because you
sorry about
stopped
that.
me, Tasneem. You stopped me when I was
I
doing.
wanted to, but he was like continuously like talking about his plans. So
Yes, so he's doing it like
I,
continuously talking so that nobody can interrupt him. I know this
I'm
strategy,
so
Hadi. I know
sorry.
that. I know that. You
Okay,
learned it from
so
Dr. Fred, right?
all right. So thank you so much for your patience, everyone. With this, I just would want to give you um, like a preview of how things are going in the context where I am. So I will talk a little bit about how the transfer of STEM research is taking place, and very particularly like how I'm trying to position STEM in Pakistan's national curriculum of science. So this has been like quite like I would say a roller coaster ride. It has not been an easy journey, but I will share how I am reaching to the point where I am now. So I will consider like the starting point in terms of understanding STEM, as I would resonate with most of the things that Mohammed and Hadi have talked about. Three of us had our learning experience at the University of Minnesota, the STEM Center. So I recall my role as a STEM instructional coach in the local school districts, and working in a project that was engineering teams. It was an NSF funded project. And then immersing into the graduate level courses, in which one of the courses Hadi has also mentioned, it was specifically getting deeper into learning STEM. And then finally, my PhD dissertation also ended up being teacher professional development for STEM education. So this was like kind of my journey where I started off learning about STEM. But then coming back to Pakistan and positioning STEM in Pakistan's national curriculum of science has been quite a journey. As I said, that I was part of the research team that project was funded by NSF, and it was a huge project. So from $1 million budget to a few million Pakistani rupees was a great shift. So doing research with minimal funding was quite a challenge. And then the other struggle, and I see that struggle was not very different from what while we were studying at the University of Minnesota, we used to face, and we used to question ourselves also, and our colleagues and our professors there, that, okay, so what do we mean by STEM? And how do we, like, what is the way? What is there a way? Is there a single way? So that question is still a struggle at this point in time in Pakistan. And usually the teachers here very vaguely talk about STEM, and somewhat this is kind of the model that they talk about. So they see science very clearly, but the technology and mathematics is kind of add-ons, and E is kind of nowhere. It's very hard for them to imagine. So one of the reasons is that at the K-12 level, we do not have engineering specifically as a discipline. So talking about engineering and like translating what it means is quite difficult for Pakistani teachers. And then you must feel this is also something very commonly heard about. So we use STEM in a very exaggerated way. Anything that has to do with like multiple disciplines becomes STEM, but how to do that and where it will happen, who is going to do it, this is kind of like it stays very fluid. Nobody talks about it. And then this discussion about disciplinary content knowledge, and this debate over disciplinary versus integrated knowledge. So there is no settlement between that, and of course the disciplinary content knowledge side wins, and it's very hard to convince about integrated knowledge. But I would say that over these 5 years, I through like baby steps, taking baby steps, I have reached this far. So this is something that I have taken out of the work of Rohrig et al. 2021. So this is how the literature talks about the common characteristics of STEM in most of the studies done in the North American context and in the international context. So looking at all this and looking at our own curriculum, so recently the Pakistan's curriculum has been revised, and the Pakistan national curriculum, in the Pakistan national curriculum, there is an addition of STEM, but it is, as I said, it is very vaguely done. So while I had an opportunity to work on it, so I tried to provide specific insights and the ways in which it could be integrated within what all is there in the science curriculum. So this is how we have tried to suggest and recommend in the Pakistani science curriculum. So we have science as a discipline, we have mathematics as a discipline. So emphasizing upon these two disciplinary content knowledge. And then, as I said, we do not have engineering as a discipline. So we propose them to use engineering design as a process to integrate these disciplinary connections. And all this is happening in the context of real world problems, as we call it, the authentic problems. And as a result of engaging in these authentic problems, we are aiming to come up to technology solution to these STEM authentic problems. So this is kind of the model that I have proposed, and this work is in publication. So they have given me this time frame. So probably by the end of December, it is going to be published in the handbook of in the Springer handbook. Now looking at the other piece that has happened as a result of small little efforts that I tried in my own capacity at my university. So the discourse on STEM has been quite generic. So from very generic STEM conversations to some interdisciplinary STEM conversations, now we have come up with this STEM curricular unit. That is, so this curriculum is based on contextually relevant resources. So it is, so all the data that has been used, all the examples, all the authentic challenges that are made are also coming from Pakistani context. So this is one achievement and accomplishment I attribute after having this learning through this international exposure. And then this year, 2022, has been very phenomenal in a way that I was able to get a design and get the STEM elective course for the in-service teachers approved. And now I'll be offering it in February in the spring semester 2023. And at the same time, I will be designing an online STEM course. So the preliminary design is ready, and I hope to create it for as a self-paced course in order to reach out to in-service teachers all across Pakistan, because this is now the part of national curriculum. And now I have all the more reasons to propagate STEM integration in Pakistani context. So this is like the overall to-date efforts that I have been able to make in terms of transferring this knowledge from where I have learned and now how it is turning up. With this, I will just stop, and I'm like, I just need to, sorry. I want to unshare, yeah. So let's have a kind of a discussion, like a quick question answer session if we want to engage in that. So Hadi, I have a question for you. So I just wanted to know, you talked about mathematical modeling for your math in service teachers. So what do you do if you have science in service teachers? So is there a particular approach that you apply for them, or it depends on like what is your audience in the course?
Okay, thank you for the question. Okay, because for this semester, this will be the first group of pre-service teachers that take the STEM education course, and the science pre-service teachers will only take it next year. Okay, so they will be in the second and the third cohort that will take the course. I'm not sure how will I deliver for those that will take the course in the future, but for now, those who are the maths pre-service teachers, I still conducted the engineering design and also the scientific inquiry activities with them. Okay. However, when it's come to the assessment, okay, means something that you want to focus more on is like I put the emphasis more on the mathematical modeling, and something that made me not to say I'm surprised. Okay, when I give more questions to them about the maths model that they develop, okay, from the data that they collect. Okay, for instance, okay, they investigate about the relationship between the size of the shoes, okay, the size of the shoes, and also the height of the body. Okay, so how they relate the height of the body and also the size of the shoes. So they can successfully provide the model, means they can come out with the formula that can relate these two variables. However, when it's come to something like interpretations, okay, how to put the conditions for that particular model, they have the lacking. Okay, they know how to generate because most of the time, okay, the computer will do it for them. Means the Microsoft Excel will certainly can provide those formula. Okay, just entering the data and they got the formula. However, when it's come to interpreting the data, okay, or verifying or something like discussing in depth about the model that they develop, yes, they have an obvious weaknesses on that particular things, even though they are maths pre-service teachers. Means I'm not sure why it happened. It could be something because they are not trained to think critically about the data or the model that developed from the mathematical modeling activities. So this is something that it is not a surprise for me. However, I'm somehow feel that, okay, they are maths pre-service teachers. They should know how to interpret data, but that's not the case in mathematical modeling activities. So I think that yes, okay, even though they are maths pre-service teachers, I still need to teach them how to interpret data. So something that I think it could be part of the mathematical modeling activities in the future, where I need to teach them how to interpret data critically and creatively. Okay, so yes, it depends on the characteristics of the students. If we get the science pre-service teachers, means we might focus more on the scientific inquiry activities, maybe. Okay, but we still need to teach them engineering design and also mathematical modeling because we are teaching the STEM course. Okay.
Yes, sure. Thank you so much, Hadi. Now there is a question for Mohammed, and Gavin has written this question in the chat. So he's asking that how it's related to the idea of soft versus hard transfer. So how are the kinds of transfer actions you can take affected by your position? So for example, as a professor, as a mid-level civil servant in a Ministry of Education, etc.
Thank you for the question. It's a very deep question, and I think the problem of being hard or soft transfer would actually affected by the context in general. If the society, if people are resistant to the change, this will make the life of the professor or the teachers or any civic servant very a hell. In particular, if we look at the STEM experience transferred to Egypt, it's more or less a matter of financial aid. Because when the USAID left, for instance, there was a decline in the support. And that decline affected everybody, affected the professional development, affected people's or teachers' attitude towards the work. And that was a result not of hating the transfer itself, but actually hating what is around the transfer, what was pushing that transfer ahead. So in this case, that's why I said it looks like on surface it's a soft transfer, but when you look deeper a little bit, it somehow takes like a harsher impact, because it's actually related or reliant on the amount of grant that was used to support this program. So the people like the idea, the people are trying to develop and improve. There was no problem with that. The students and the parents and everybody are in love with the idea, because we had now a very big experience of STEM in Egypt. And I hope that Tasneem and Hadi, we can work together on now transferring the Egyptian experience without money, we have no money. So
Yeah,
we can
same here. No money. Without money, we have to do
yes.
whatever we have to.
Yes. Actually, the problem will be the standard of professional development, the standard of equipment in the schools, and the stuff that was supported by the USAID is getting less and less, and that's not affecting the morale. It may affect the morale of the people for some little time, but it's not making a big problem.
Yeah, I hear you, Mohammed. It's very difficult, and you are way ahead than where I am at the moment. So we are like, so we don't have like any idea of how it will go into the classrooms. We are doing it like scanty efforts here and there, but there is no specific STEM school out here, and we are trying to like try this pedagogy. Like I would say it's a pedagogical approach, and trying to convince people to try it out. So we are doing it with our partner schools. So it's a very like small little effort, but this is how things are.
So the movement now in Egypt is that some private schools are trying to integrate STEM in their curriculum, which is very important, and it makes great success here, because private schools, especially international schools, we call them international schools because they teach American and British curriculum, and they get money from the students, so they have more luxury to apply STEM approach, and we're doing some good success in that area.
Okay, so wonderful. So we will meet offline and we will discuss it further. So with this, I would like to thank both of you, especially for taking out your time for this session and sharing your experiences. And this is very important for all of us who are trying to bring all the value that STEM education brings into our own unique, specific contexts. So I would say that thank you so much for sharing your experiences and enlightening us. With this, I hand it over to Gavin.
Thank you. Thank you, Tasneem, for helping organize and for joining, and for others for the contribution and the planning as well. So I think it was a great
Imran
session.
is also with us.
That's
Imran.
Right. Good. Thank you.
Yeah.
And so we're able to have this, and I hope that I'm going to have the video available for others out on other NARST members who weren't able to join. And so then hopefully there would be chances for continued conversations going ahead still.
Sure. Thank you so much.